Okay, Feitesim Bay 6 lines from the bottom. Tanar Rabbanan, the Rabbanan learned. Navi Shehidiach Beskila. A Navi who went and convinced people with Nevuah to do Avodah Zarah. He said, Hashem said you should do Avodah Zarah. Right? The Brisa says that the Tanakama, the Rabbanan say, he gets skila. Rab Shimon Aimer b'chenek. Rab Shimon says he gets chenek. The Gemara is going to explain the machlekes in a minute. Madichi irin hidachas, people who convince him irin hidachas to do avodah zarah, b'skila, they get skila. Rab Shimon Aimer b'chenek. Rab Shimon says b'chenek. So it sounds like the same machlekes. The same machlekes, the same shita by both of them. Now, frak the Gemara, what's the pshat? Navi shediach b'skila, my time d'Rabbanan. The Navi that convinces somebody to go do Avodah Zarah because he's a Navi and he says to do Avodah Zarah, he gets skila. What's the reason of the Rabbanan who say that he gets skila? They say, the Gemara says, Asya hadacha mimesis. You learn out of Gzer Shava. It says hadacha both times, but by mesis and by Navi Shediach. By mesis, that an individual person goes and convinces somebody to do Avodah Zarah. The pasuk says, "Uskalte ba'avanim v'meis." He gets skila. Ki bikesh la'dichacha. That's the hadacha. He wanted to turn you off. Me'al Hashem l'kecha from Hashem ha'metziach me'eretz Mitzrayim. That's what it says by mesis. And by Navi Shakar, it says v'Navi Yahu echel machaleim hahu yumas. The Navi who had this, had this dream, he should die. Ki diber Sarah al Hashem alakeichem, because he spoke wrong words on Hashem, your God, who took you out of Mitzrayim, and who redeemed you from the house of servitude, to turn you away from the road that Hashem commanded you to go in. You should destroy the bad from amongst you. So this second pasuk is talking about the Navi, and who's Madiach, who's trying to get you subvert. Yeah, subvert is a great word.
Not my word.
I figured it might not be. and it's the same lahadichacha as it says by mesis. So just like by mesis it's with skila, it's mefurish in the pasuk we read. So too here it's with skila. Malalanu skila kam skila. So that's pshat the Rabbanan. Rab Shimon says chenek. Why? Because misa ksivabei. It says misa by the Navi. It says Navi ahu echel machalem ahu yumas. He should die. It doesn't say what kind of misa. Mechal misa murabatorah stam ein el chenek. And we said already a few times in this Masechta that when it says misa stam in the Torah, it means chenek. And the Gzer Shava hadacha. Rashi explains his Rebbe didn't say that Gzer Shava. You can't go and just judge Dana Gzer Shava by yourself. You have to have a Messiah. You have to have your Rebbe tell you that he got it from his Rebbe, he got it from his Rebbe. They have Gzer Shava. So Reb Shimon didn't have this Gzer Shava. So now that was the first machlekes. Now madichir and idachas b'skila. It says that madichir and idachas, they convince you and idachas to do avodah zarah, get skila. That's the Rabbanan. My time the Rabbanan. What's the reason the Rabbanan? Gamri hadacha hadacha. Oimi mesis, oimi navi shediach. By Madichir and Idachas, you also have a pasuk that says Hadacha. It says Yatzu Anashim Ne Bli Al Mikrabecha. People, empty people, bad people went from amongst you. By Dichwas Yoshvirim, and they subverted the people who live in their city. Lamer saying,
He's convinced, right?
Yeah. Well, convinced is a bad thing. Right. Yeah. Lamer saying, let's go and serve Avodah Zarah. So that's the pasuk by hadacha of yachid, not a navi, and over there it says the word hadacha. So we're either learning it out from mesis or we're learning it out from the hadacha from navi shediach. Either way, the Rabbanan said it was skila. Rab Shimon says no. Gamar hadacha minavi. He has limud of hadacha by madichir and idachas to hadacha from navi shediach. And just like he said that navi shediach is going to be b'chenek, he says this also is going to be b'chenek, because this Gzer Shava he did have, the other Gzer Shava he didn't have. Frak the Gemara for Ligmar Mesis. Why doesn't Rab Shimon learn out from Mesis? From Mesis, you have also the word hadacha, and over there we said it's skila. Gemara says done Mesis Rabbim, done Mesis Mesis Yachid. It makes sense to learn out the Madichir and Idachas, which is a Rabbim from the Navi who's speaking to a Rabbim but the ain't done is Mesis Rabbim and Mesis Yachid, but you don't learn out Mesis Rabbim from Mesis Yachid. Hadacha is Midicher and Hadacha is Rabbim, and the Mesis is a Yachid. So that doesn't make sense to learn out from the other. Hadrabah done Hadit Mehadit done Hadit Minavi. Let's learn out a case when it's normal people, whether it's a Rabbim or a Yachid. We're talking about regular people versus the case of a Navi, which is a totally different category of people. The Gemara says Rav Shimon has a chapa over here. Rav Shimon, what does he say? This guy, he may have been a Navi, he might have been a Navi. Maybe even once he was a Navi. The Gemara's going to talk about that later. But now he went and convinced people to do Avodah Zarah. He's no Navi anymore. He's a Hedge. He's a nice far. He lost his license. Good mashal. Yeah. Yes. He's saying he can't practice anymore. He lost his license. He's disbarred.
Once he's gone.
Yeah. So now we're going to have a shaila in what the machlekes of Rabban and Rab Shimon is by a navi who says don't do mitzvahs or do avodah zarah. We're talking about both scenarios because Hashem said.
Don't these have to make sense when Navi says?
So the Gemara is going to say later on, I'll give you a sneak preview. The Gemara says, anything that a Navi says to do, assuming it's a Navi that's mufsik, like Eliyahu Navi or Avraham Avinu, right, like we had in yesterday's daf, right, then you listen to him, except if he says we have it Avodah Zarah, because that's never going to happen.
It's like don't do mitzvahs, right?
Don't do mitzvahs, yeah. Because Eliyahu Navi, we saw, he said, let's do shkutei chutz. Let's bring a carbon outside the base of Migdal, outside the Mishkan.
Something different, something crazy, like I said.
Right? Everyone knew that Eliyahu was a Navi. Right, because he was proven to be a Navi already, so he can do it because the Nevi'ah says he did that. But if a person is not a Navi,
we're talking
about the guy's a Navi, yeah. But I'm saying if he's coming at, I'm sorry, I started saying that wrong. But if even a regular Navi comes, if a Yohan Navi comes to you and says, Yitzi, time to do Avodah Zarah, just for a little bit, just for a day or two. You don't listen.
It doesn't make sense.
Right, so the Gemara is going to talk about it on the bottom, right before the end of the paper. Okay. So, Zak the Gemara. Zak the Gemara, Rav Chisda says, the machlekes between the Rabbanan and Rab Shimon by a Navi is ba'ikar haguf. That way the skachavim, when he says completely get rid of the Isra of Avodah Zarah. In other words, Hashem said, no such thing as Avodah Zarah anymore, not an Avir anymore. Go to church, have fun, right? Or v'ki mixas avitul mixas, David Skachavim. Or if he says, no, it's not that we're matcha Avodah Zarah, but there's certain aspects of Avodah Zarah that are mutter now, right? Amar, because the Torah says min haderach. This is the pasuk by a Navi. It says that the Navi was min haderach, to turn you away from or subvert you from the path that Asher tzivcha Hashem l'kacha, that Hashem commanded you lach spated go in. So min haderach means if you're away from the path, afilu miktas haderach, even if you're a little away from the path, you're off the path.
You're not halfway.
What?
It's a pregnant, not pregnant. You can't say halfway.
No, you could say that. He's saying, Rav says you could say that. Even if it's bittul mixas and kiyam mixas, he says, today, the only Isra with Zarah is on Mondays and Thursdays because you have laning. But Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, you could do Avodah Zarah.
So if someone says that, you don't believe it.
Someone says that, he's a Navi, you don't believe it. But if you listen to him, right? I'm not, even if you're going to listen to him, that Navi, that he's going to get killed, right? Does he get killed? So Rav Chisda holds that even if he says not completely no avodah zarah, but partially no avodah zarah, ki mixas and mikol mixas, he'll still get killed because the pasuk says when it's talking about the Navi trying to convince somebody to do avodah zarah, it says that he turns you away from the derech, right? He's not completely away, even a little bit away. That's enough to be chayav. But if this Navi went and he says there's no such thing as kibbut aveim anymore, or there's no such thing as Shabbos anymore, divrei hakol b'chenek, what?
Totally crazy.
No. We're not talking about whether or not you listen to him. We're talking about if he was saying it falsely, does he get killed? And if he gets killed, what kibisa does he get? So over here he says if it's a oikra aguf to shar mitzvahs, if he's oikra, let's say he says no more Shabbos, right? You know, Shabbos Tzvi did this. Shabbos Tzvi.
I don't know the story. I know the
I
name.
don't think I know the answer, but he did it, and some people listened to him.
Right?
So you see, yeah. So when you get rid of the entire mitzvah, but a different mitzvah, not avodah zarah, then everyone agrees he doesn't get skila, he gets chenek. Before by avodah zarah, it's machlekes if it's skila or chenek, but by other mitzvahs, it's only chenek. Why? Because we don't learn out from the pasuk that says by lahadichacha. We learn from the pasuk, a different pasuk entirely, that says acha navi asher yazil l'daber davar b'shmi, a navi who said something in my name, Hashem's name. He says shelo tzivisa, something I didn't command him. The asher lo tzivisa l'daber, I didn't command him to say. Asher yidaber b'shem elihim acherim, and he says it in the name of other avodah zaros. Well, Mesa navi who gets killed. So he gets killed, but he doesn't get killed the same lahadichacha misa, which you said is skila according to the Rabbanan. Even according to the Rabbanan, who learned that from this pasuk, and therefore he's going to get chenek. So everyone will agree that in this case, that he'll get chenek. Masav Rav Hamnuna asked the kasha. It says in a brayso, "Lelechas zumitzvos asay, ba zumitzvos leisay." This pasuk that we were learning about, this whole last little Gemara, it says that the Navi went to subvert you from the path asher tzivcha Hashem alakecha, that Hashem commanded you, leleches, to go ba in it, uvi'ataram karecha, leleches ba. So Rav Hamnuna asked the kasha on Rav Chizda, you're telling me that this is Pshat in the Machlekes. I have a brayso that's going to be shver. Why? Leleches, the pasuk says zumitzvos asay, that the brayso says that leleches means that he told you to not do a mitzvah asay, the mavatal an asay, and ba, when it says ba, is a mitzvah asay. It's a mitzvah saying he's told you be over a mitzvah asay. So mitzvah asay is, let's say, go bring the Karban Pesach. Mitzvah asay is don't eat chametz. Let's say, right? Right? So in that scenario, that's leleches and ba. Now, really, I just said something not true, because we said that pasuk is talking about avodah zarah. So that means leleches has to be talking about a mitzvah asay of avodah zarah, and ba has to be talking about a mitzvah asay of avodah zarah. And frak the Gemara, v'isa gedaitach b'avodah kachavim, asay b'avodah kachavim mech mishkachsla. You Rav Chizda are saying that this pasuk that is only talking about avodah zarah. That it says the pasuk that says skila is talking about your mavatal avodah zarah completely, or your mavatal avodah zarah partially. But the pasuk about being mavatal other mitzvahs, Shabbos, Shluch Hatan, Kibbut Avayim, that the pasuk is only chenek. That's a totally different pasuk. It doesn't talk about avodah zarah. But it's not true, because the leleches is not mitzvah asay, and this pasuk that says leleches is talking about avodah zarah. Where's the asay of avodah zarah that you can be mavatal? And for the Gemara, Tikkun Rav Chizda v'nitatztam. The Rav Chizda says, no, you do have an asay b'avodah zarah. The asay b'avodah zarah is you should destroy. The pasuk is v'nitatztam is mizbechesim. You should break down the altars, the mizbeches of avodah zarah. Shmartem is matzei beisam. You should break down their idols. V'ashreim tishru b'eish. You should burn their asherus in fire. Right. So that's the asay. So then you could have that. Rav Hamnuna Amar. Rav Hamnuna says, he says no. I disagree. I disagree with your pshat in the brayso, and he's in the machlekes Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon, and I'll tell you what the pshat is. Rav Hamnuna Amar machlekes ba'ikra agaf. Machlekes is that everybody holds that. I'm sorry. Machlekes is whether it's chenek or skila. Is if the Navi went and he said, you should get rid of this entire mitzvah. But which mitzvah? Bein b'avodah kachavim, bein b'shar mitzvahs. Avodah zarah, Shabbos, tzitzis, kibbut avayim, shluch hakan. You name it, any mitzvah. But he wants to say there's no such thing as tzitzis anymore. The Rebbeinu Shalom came to me and he said no more tzitzis. So that's Eikra Guf of Avodah Kachavim or B'Shar Mitzvahs. And the key mitzvahs of Vidal Mitzvahs of Avodah Kachavim. And if you're Mavatal part of the mitzvah or of Avodah Kachavim. Why? Rachmana Amar Min HaDerech, Afilu Mitzvahs HaDerech. Because that pasuk that says Leleches Ba, he holds that doesn't make sense to say that's talking about just Avodah Zarah. That's got to be talking about everything. It doesn't make sense, and that's talking about Vini Tatztam. So that's talking about Avodah Zarah plus other mitzvahs that you do completely. and min haderech is talking about in that pasuk from avodah zarah. So even mitzvahs, bittul mitzvahs, and kiyum mitzvahs of avodah zarah. Aval kiyum mitzvahs, and bittul mitzvahs to b'shar mitzvahs to v'rei kol pater. But if you go, if the Navi comes and says, Rebbeinu Shem said you should still wear tzitzis, but you shouldn't wear tzitzis. That's Mishayla. We're like this when the Bible asks when tzitzis. Let's say he said, I'll give you almost your example. You should only wear tzitzis till chatzais. No mitzvah tzitzis after chatzais. Right. But it's with bittul mitzvahs and kiyum mitzvahs, then pater. He's going to be pater. He's divrei kol pater. He's not going to get. He's not going to get misa at all. Because over there, the pasuk says by that pasuk of Acha Navi Asher Yased L'Daber Davar B'Shmi, to say a davar by name. A davar is an entire thing, not a partial thing. So that pasuk that says that your chayiv is not talking about when you battle the full thing; it's only talking about when you battle a partial thing. Okay, so now this price is going to be a little cryptic, and the Gemara is going to say that Rav Chisda is going to be mefarish it like his way, Rav Yehuda is going to be mefarish it like his way. Let's see. Tanu Rabbanon Rabbanon. Hamisnavi lakar davar b'atayra chayiv. Somebody who makes an nevuah to uproot something from the Torah is chayiv. L'kaim mixes will vatal mixas to be l'kaim something and to vatal something. Part yes, part no. Rab Shimon pater, Rab Shimon paters. Even if you say today, the Navi says today's serve avodah zarah, but tomorrow you don't, which is battle mitzvahs and the chayiv mitzvahs, divrei kol chayiv, everyone holds his chayiv. Now, if you go through this like step by step, you're going to see it doesn't seem to match.
How about a guy who's bicycle on Torah?
That's a totally different thing. So Navi, we said that yesterday when we said that when a Navi goes and adds on, actually we didn't say this, we started from the mission right after it. But it's this little ask Gemara on Pechesam Beis, Pechesam and Aleph.
Things you have from a friend, right?
What?
Things you have from a friend, I can't say.
That was something else. Well, you're asking if, let's say he says put on another box in your tefillin, right?
Or no mitzvah,
So the Gemara doesn't talk about that in the context of Navi. It talks about it in the context of Zakin Mamre, and for Zakin Mamre it says that you have to. You're going to be a very few cases where you'll be chayiv. However, there's a Rambam in Pirush Mishnayos on Zakin Mamre, and Rambam says if you look at the Mishnah of Zakin Mamre on the bottom of Peches Beis, it comes out it's kamat not shaykh to have Zakin Mamre.
All the things that's to do and
Yeah, Zak the Rambam. Wait a second, Zak the Rambam. It's shaykh. Within ceremony, maybe it's not shaykh at all. Zak the Rambam, it's shaykh, but it's a very, very tiny situation where it could be possible. Zak the Rambam in Pirush Mishnayos. So you're going to tell me people make a mistake and they say Zak the Rambam is kamat not possible. He says yes, of course it's true. The guy's not going to be chayiv al Zakin Mamre, maybe, but he's a tzeduki. He's a min. He's saying that Bezdin's going to kill him anyway. Right? So this person is a Navi. If he comes and starts making new mitzvahs, he's going to get punished anyway. If he says it b'derech nevuah, that he says something that Hashem said, that we had yesterday, that said, Navi, you said something derech nevuah, and Navi mashlei shama is misasam b'dei adam. He's got taka chayiv misa. Right? So he's going to get chenek for that also. Okay. So Zak the Gemara. So the Gemara says this brisa, and it's a funny brisa, and the Gemara is going to say Abaye savar like Rav Chisda, Matash like Rav Chisda. Abaye held like Rav Chisda, and he explains this brisa according to Rav Chisda. Rava savar like Rav Hamnuna, Matash like Rav Hamnuna. Rava holds like Rav Hamnuna, and he says the machlokes, says the brisa like Rav Hamnuna. Now the Gemara explains. Abaye savar like Rav Chisda, Matash like Rav Chisda. Abaye holds like Rav Chisda, explains the brisa like Rav Chisda. Quote: A misnabi lakar davar b'Torah, somebody who was misnabi to be it says in nevuah to be oiker something from the Torah completely divrei kol b'chenek. Everyone holds it's going to be chenek. It's going to be chayiv misa, even if it's something that's not avodah zarah, because that's what Rav Chisda holds. L'kaim mixas will batal mixas, and if it's going to be l'kaim mixas will batal mixas, Rab Shimon pater. Rab Shimon is pater because Rab Shimon holds that you're going to be pater because the pasuk is talking about the pasuk is talking that says davar means a complete thing. V'adin l'Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan will hold the same thing. But that's talking about not avodah zara. Avodah kachavim, and by avodah zara, afilu amra yom ivdu l'machram bekluha. Even if you say we mavatla mitzvahs and mekayim mitzvahs, do it today, not tomorrow. Chayiv, you're going to be chayiv. Everyone will be chayiv, but still be markedisly. The Rabban will hold his chayiv skila, and the Rab Shimon will hold his chayiv chenek. That's how Abaye held. Rav Asav like Rav Amnuna, Mataras like Rav Amnuna. Rav explains the Brisa like Rav Amnuna. That what? Somebody who makes a nevuah to be oik or something from the Torah, whether it's avodah kachavim or other mitzvahs, either way, it doesn't matter. Chayiv, you're going to be chayiv, but what will you be chayiv? Markedistai. According to Rabban, you'll be chayiv skila, and according to Rav Shimon, you'll be chayiv chenek. And Mekayim mitzvahs, levatal mitzvahs, but if it's coming to be Mekayim and levatal bishar mitzvahs, Rab Shimon paiter would Rabbanan. By other mitzvahs, Rab Shimon and Rabbanan both hold that you're pater, because by other mitzvahs we said it talks about davar and not a chatzi davar, not a partial thing. But by avodah kachavim, afilu amar hayom mivdu l'machar b'kluah chayiv. By avodah kachavim, even levatal mitzvahs and Mekayim mitzvahs, that's more than a regular one, will be chayiv. Markedisla. According to Rabbanan skila, according to Rab Shimon, it'll be chena. Okay, now this is the piece that I was telling you before, Rabbi Yitzi. Amar Bavo, Amar Rabbi Yechon. Bavo said the name Rabbi Yechon. And everything in Yom Navi Avar al Divrei Torah. If a Navi says to you, over on Divrei Torah, Shemalai, listen to him. Chutz mi avodas kachavim. Right? Remember, you have mechuyev to listen to a Navi. We said that on yesterday's daf. What?
If you're looking.
Yeah. Okay. Chutz mi avodas kachavim, except for avodas kachavim. Shafilu mamad chacham of emtzor rakia. He says to you, look, the Rebbeinu Shalom, look, I'm stopping the sun in the middle of the sky. It's frozen there. As a raya that what I'm telling you is true, you should be avodah avodah zara. Al tishmaloi, don't listen to him. And then we'll explain in a second about the sun standing in the middle of the sky.
Again, well, what's the Torah? What's the thing that he says? He says, Avraham al Divrei Torah. That you should listen to Israel.
Because Torah Hashem is telling you got to do this. Because Hashem said to do this, just like Avraham Avinu, Hashem said Shech Yitzchak, right? You're not supposed to do that. You're not allowed. A person, for the record, is not allowed to Shech his own son. Well, the Rebbeinu Shalom tells you to, then you are. And if the Navi tells you that the Rebbeinu Shalom said, then you have to listen. Yeah. Can you learn the Raisa? Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yosef says, the Torah understood the extent of avodas kachavim. Therefore, the Torah was given a rulership over it. That I think this means that the Torah would be so strong. The Torah says you never listen to it, even when a Navi says, and even if the Navi makes the sun stop in the middle of the sky, Al Tishmalai, don't listen to him. Tanya learned in the Brisa. Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, "Chas v'shalom, shakadosh baruch hu ma'amad chamel over It can't be that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to make the sun stop in the sky for somebody saying you serve Avodah
What's the one that made it rain?
Yeah, but that was in front of Zara, right?
Right.
Elos, what's the story? Then Hananiah ben Asar. Talking about a Navi like Hananiah ben Asar, who we had in yesterday's daf. Shemitchlasei Navi Emes. Originally, he was a true Navi. And then maybe he could have set a sign. Rebbeinu Shalom says that I'm a Navi, and my raya is that the sun is stopped in the middle of the sky. And then it was true. Because then he was a Navi. But then it was Seif Navi Sheker, and then he became a Navi Sheker. And since he became a Navi Sheker, even though beforehand he said, I'm a true Navi, and you see this because I was able to stop the sun in the sky, now if he says, do avodah zara, don't listen to him anymore. Okay, bye to the Gemara. I'm trying to talk quick because we have a big Avodah base still to go through. Okay, this was a complicated Gemara. The Gemara is getting easier as soon as we start the new parak. We said that if three people are Mazal, a Bas Kayin gets Sreifa. She's a Nesua and she's Mizana. But the people who wanted to put her to death, and it turned out they were Zaymamin, they don't get Sreifa, they get Chenek. How do you know this? Rav Achim says to Tanya. Rabbi Yosef says, what does the pasuk mean when it says, you do to him what he wanted to do to his brother, specifically his brother. All cases of Zayman, people wanted to kill somebody and then they get Muslim. The Zayman and the Bayal is the same as the person they wanted to kill. They get they get the same misa. However, by Bas Kayin, he b'streifa, ve'im boil b'streifa. She gets streifa, and the boil doesn't get streifa. Zainmin, so now the Zainmin have a problem. They have a problem. Normally, if you say, we saw Reuven and Mizana with Shrinza, right? They get the same thing. So if they're Muslim, they get what they wanted to give that person. They both get chenek. But over here, any of them, do you go to him or do you go to her? Do you say she gets streifa so the Aiden gets streifa, or he gets chenek so the Aiden get chenek? So when the pasuk says, you see the Torah is saying, lean towards the man over here. He gets the chenek, he doesn't get the streifa. New parak. Now this parak, by the way, is in the Mishnayos is the second last parak, is the 10th parak, and Elon and Nachman is the last parak. And Rashi over here says that it makes sense, or somewhere it says that it makes sense that this should be the last parak, because we're saying this person gets skila, this person gets shreifa, this person gets heret, this person gets chenek. However, all these people, they can still do tshuva, and they'll get olam haba. But these are the people that they don't even get olam haba. And in fact, Rashi says that the Mishnah starts Kol Yisrael Yeshlim Chiluk Haba. He says that's not the real Mishnah. The real Mishnah starts 2 lines later when it talks about who doesn't get Olam Haba. But you didn't want to start a parak by talking about the people who don't get Olam Haba, so they tacked this on in the beginning. Kol Yisrael
doesn't Olam Haba?
And where's going to say
the worst people in the world have.
We're going to talk about this is the topic of this parak. Kol Yisrael Yeshlim Chiluk Haba. All Yisrael have a Chiluk Haba. Shneimar like the pasuk says, "Va'amech the nation kulam tzadikim." They're all righteous. They'll all get the Eretz Hachayim Olam Haba. Yitzur Matai, the sprout of my branch. Masi Yadar. Hashem says, I made them l'sparah to be glorified with them. So all Kol Yisrael gets Olam Haba. However, the Elu she'ein lehem Chiluk Olam Haba. These are the people who don't get a Chiluk Olam Haba. Ha'Imer ain't Tchias HaMesim from the Torah. Somebody says there's no Tchias HaMesim from the Torah. Rashi says, even if it says no, I agree there's Tchias HaMesim. What about Yidden? Yeah. Someone says, in Tchias HaMesim from the Torah. He says, I believe in Tchias HaMesim. Just the rayas that you say from the Torah, I don't believe them. Right? The Midrash and the Chazal are saying them, it's not true. And certainly if he says, I don't believe in Tchias HaMesim at all. If he says Torah is not from Shemayim, Apikoros, or if it's Apikoros, the Gemara will explain what an Apikoros is. Rabbi Kiva says, even somebody who reads Svarim HaChitzainim, the Gemara is going to talk about what that is. Somebody who says incantation over a makkah, he says, any machla that I put on Mitzrayim, I won't put on you because I am Hashem. So he does this black magic. He wants to do this kishuf with the psukim on a makkah to heal it. What? Yeah. Abishal says also somebody who says out the Shem Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei with the letters with the correct pronunciation. There are 3 kings and 4 non-kings, non-royalty. They didn't have a chelik olam haba. The 3 malachim are Yeravam, Achav, and Menashe. These 3 kings. And Rabbi Yehuda argues. Rabbi Yehuda says Menashe yesh lechelik olam haba. Menashe did have a chelik olam haba. Shneimar like the pasuk says, "Vayispalel elav." He davened to him, Vayishmat chinasai, and he listened to his tefillah. Vayishvei Yerushalayim l'malchusai. And he returned him. Hashem returned him to Menashe after his tefillah to his kingdom in Yerushalayim. So he said, you see, he did do tshuva, and you see, he did get Olam Haba. Rabbanan said back to him, Amrullah, they said to Rabbi Yehuda, no. Hashem returned him to his kingdom, but not the Chai Olam Haba. Arba Hadyaitis, who are the 4 Hadyaitis, the commoners who did not get Olam Haba? Bilam, we know, Bilam Rasha, the Dayan, Vachi Taifel, in the days of David HaMelech, Shlomo, the Gehazi, and Gehazi was the Mishares of Elisha. Zak the Gemara. What's the big deal? Someone is Kaifer and Olam Haba. Why is Kaifer and Tchias HaMesim? Why is he not getting? Yeah, why is he not getting Olam Haba? Yeah, it is. But the Gemara is asking the question. But what's the big deal? Right? Where it says, Tana, we learned in the Brisa, who kafar b'tchias hamesim, he was denied tchias hamesim, lefichach lo yileh chelak b'tchias hamesim, therefore he won't have a chelak in tchias hamesim. Shekol midaysim shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because Hashem, the way Hashem acts, mida k'neged mida. There's one thing parallel to the other. Amar Shmuel Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonasan. And what's that? To finish the sentence, the Gemara is saying, and therefore that's Mida K'neged Mida. Since he was no for Tchias Mesim, he's not getting Tchias Mesim. The other Gemara is going to be the Raya that Hashem does things with Mida K'neged Mida. The Amar Shmuel Nachmani Amar Yonasan. Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani said name Rabbi Yonasan. Minayin shekol midosim shel Kadosh Baruch Hu Mida K'neged Mida. How do you know all Hashem's midas are Mida K'neged Mida? Shneimar like the pasuk says. Vayemar Elisha said. So there was a famine in those days. We have this as one of the Haftarahs. I forgot which parsha. Vayemar Elisha said, Shimon bar Hashem v'gomer. Listen to the words of Hashem. Ka'es machar. At this time tomorrow, sa selis b'shekel. Saw of flour will cost a shekel, and 2 saw of barley will be a shekel. B'shar Shemron in the gates of Shemron. That's like saying today, tomorrow, gas is going to be down to 25 cents a gallon. Chsiv and the pasuk says, "Vayan Hashalosh." The officer said, "Ashal Melech Nishan Al Yadai," that the king used to rely on. He said, "Es Ish Alikim," to the man of Hashem, to Elisha. Vayomer, he said, "Hine Hashem Oisa Arubas B'Shemayim." If Hashem would make windows in the sky, Hayiyah Hadavar Hazeh, could such a thing happen? Vayomer, and Elisha said, "Hin Charaya, you'll see with your own eyes this nice." But you're not going to have any enough from it. You're not going to be able to eat from this cheap wheat and cheap barley. The Chsiv in the pasuk says, came. This is what happened. The prices went down. The people trampled him in the gate of Shemron when he died. Frakti Gemara, how do you know that was Mida K'neged Mida? Maybe this was because of the klal of Elisha. Elisha cursed him. Elisha said, "You're not going to have this. You're going to see it, and you're not going to have it." The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Rav said in the name of Rav, "Kilas chacham afilu al chinam hiba." A klal of a chacham, even if he did it for nothing, it's going to come. And certainly Elisha wasn't a kal of the shalish for nothing. The guy deserved it. So how do you know it was as Mida K'neged Mida that Hashem judged him that he got that punishment? Where it says, "In came lichtiv krav yirmasuhu vayamas." It should have said they trampled him and he died. My b'shar. What's the point of saying they trampled him in the shar and he died? Al iske shar, because of the gate. Because Elisha said that you're going to see this price in the gates of Shemron, where they would announce the prices where the marketplace was, and that's where he died. So you see, it was because of the shar. Zakh Mar Vayter. How do you know Tchias Mesim from the Torah? Shneimar, like the pasuk says, we're going to bring a free rise. You should give truma from truma and meiser to Aaron HaKayim. Aaron la'olam kayim, is Aaron always going to be alive? He didn't come to Eretz Yisrael, and the point is that truma, that people can give him truma. The point is that truma didn't start until after Aaron was lifted. Why is he saying give it to Aaron? It's coming to tell you that Aaron HaKohen will end up being alive, being with Tchias HaMesim, and Klal Yisrael will give him truma. That's where the right that you have Tchias HaMesim from the Torah. Rabbi Shmuel Tana, no, la'Aaron ke'Aaron. Rabbi Shmuel said they didn't learn this as a raya. Yeah, to be clear, it's not that they said there's no raya to Tchias HaMesim in Torah, because that's the mission that says in the Chiluk Olam Haba. They said this is not the raya. They used this pasuk for a different drasha. The Gemara is going to say what it says. But my point is that Rabbi Shmuel used one of the other rayas the Gemara is going to bring to say that there is Tchias HaMesim in Torah. Rabbi Shmuel Tana, how they learn this pasuk? The Aaron ke'Aaron, that you should give it to Aaron. People like Aaron. It doesn't mean specifically Aaron. It means people like him. Aaron chaver, achman of chaverim. Just like Aaron HaKohen was a Talmid Chacham, so too you should give it to his sons who are Talmid Chacham. And on the side, the Gilgal adds, "Mikana amru she'inoistim atamar HaKohen amaretz." From here you see you don't give truma to a kohen who's an amaretz. I was going to say, Amar Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, how do you know Rabbi Shmuel Nachmani said Rabbi Yonasan that you don't give truma to a kohen who's an amaretz? Shneimar, like the Masa says, Vayomer L'am, he said to the people, V'yoshvi Yerushalayim, to the people who live in Yerushalayim, Naseis minas hakohenim v'alaviyim, to give the portion of the kohenim and Levim, the truma and meiser, L'man yechazku b'teres Hashem, so that to be strong in the teres Hashem. Give the truma and the meiser to the kohenim and Levim, it's they're the ones who are sitting and learning, and they push it need to have parnasa and strength to be able to sit and learn. And we learn from here, called Machzor Keteras Hashem Yesh Lo Manas, somebody who is Machzor Keteras Hashem, the Kohen and the Levi, who are somebody the Chacham, they're the ones who get the portions of Shema Meiser. The Shena Machzor Keteras Hashem Ein Lo Manas, and the one who doesn't hold of Keteras Hashem doesn't get the portion. Amar Rav Barada, Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Barada is the name of Rav Yehuda. Kol anoisin truma l'koyin am aretz. Somebody gives truma to a koyin who's am aretz. Kol anoisin l'fnei ari. He's giving it. It's like he's giving it in front of a lion. Ma'ari safek deres veichel, safek ein deres veichel. Just like an ari, it's a safek when he takes an animal from the flock. It's a suffix. He's going to take it and just eat it right then and there.
Problem? You give the client to eat something in the state of time?
Yeah.
Problem?
Yeah. Not let each of them become.
So you cause him to eat something in the
You're putting truma in a situation where it's going to get tummy. Yeah.
The thing is not done even after you give it.
You shouldn't put truma in a situation where it's going to get tummy. So just like in Ari, it's a suffix when he takes steals a sheep from the flock. It's a suffix whether he's going to eat it right away or he's going to pull it back to its lair and let it go bad and then eat it once it's bad, right? Suffix deres veichel, suffix ein deres veichel. Af koyin amaretz, by koyin amaretz, same thing. Suffix oichel b'tara. It's a suffix he's going to eat it b'tara, or suffix oichel b'tamis. Maybe he'll let it quote unquote go bad by being matamit and he'll eat it that way. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, there's another reason not to give it to koyin amaretz. Af garab le'misa, it's going to cause a misa. The pasuk talks about truma. It says if you eat it when you're tamei, a person eats it when they're tamei, they'll get a die from eating that because they're machal the truma. So you don't want to cause this person. It's a very bad thing for a kohen to be eating truma that's tamei. Zaktim Ravayter. Dvei Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Tana, Af Masiyai Avan Ashma. The Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov's yeshiva, they learned that also eating truma tameya is going to cause somebody a lot of averis. It's going to come on to load on him a lot of averis. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, "V'yisiu oisam avin ashma ba'achlam es kadshehem." It's going to come to them a lot of sins when they eat their kachim. And Rashi says the targum on this pasuk is when they eat betuma their kachim. So don't eat betuma kachim because it's going to be massive averis. Tanya Rabbi Shimei said that we learned in the Brayso, "Minayin l'tchias hamesim in the Torah." How do you know l'tchias hamesim from the Torah? Shneimar, the pasuk says, "V'gam ha'kimeisi brisi esprisi itam las lahem es eretz Canaan." It says, I was also Mekayim the bris with the Avos of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to give to them the land of Canaan. It doesn't say to the Yidden, but Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had already passed away, right? Elohim, it says to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. From here you see that the Rebbeinu Shalom is eventually going to give Tchias HaMesim, and then Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov will be able to have the land also together with their Einaklach and Oreinaklach, and we should also be included amongst them. Zaktim more weiter. Simen said that Gam Geshem come Simen. Shalu Minin is Ram Gamliel. The Minin asked Ram Gamliel. And some of the Gersais and some of the older, Gemara says that Sedukim. So they asked Ram Gamliel, how do you know that Hashem is Mechayim Mesim? He said a raya from the Torah, a raya from the Nevi'im, raya from Ksubim, and they weren't makabel any of the rayas. And the Gemara is going to say what the rayas were. And Torah from the Torah, the pasuk says, Hashem said to Moshe, you're going to be nifter, you're going to lie with your fathers, come and you'll get up. So they said, you see that. I'm sorry. Rabbi Gamliel said, you see, the pasuk says you're going to lie with your fathers, you're going to die. You're coming, you're going to get up.
But the following words are not. What's the following different?
Amrullah, they told him, maybe it's coming to say the end of the pasuk. Put the comma in the other place. The people will get up and do averis.
You don't know what Moshe is doing.
That's true. But they wanted to argue on the raya because they said no, that's not the right place for the comma. Then on Nevi'im, we brought a raya from the Nevi'im. The Ksiv of the pasuk says, "Yichayu meisacha." Your mason will be alive, will live. The dead bodies will get up. They'll get up, awaken, and rejoice. Those who dwell in the dirt, people are buried. Because the dew of light is your dew. The eretz from tapel, in the lands of the giants you'll conquer. So you see that the Torah is very specifically saying that the Mesim will get up. Where it says no, but the Mesim Shechi Yecheskel. The Minim said back to him, maybe these are the Mesim that Yecheskel was Machayev. The pasuk says, Hayichyu Atzamas Ha'ela, Ahom Nevuah by Yecheskel, and a whole bunch of people had Tchias Mesim. So it's talking about those, but it's not talking about Tchias Mesim after everybody. It's just talking about one particular episode. The Ksuvim, they wanted to bring a raya from the Ksuvim, pasuk in Shir Shir. Yechikech Kiyen HaTayv. Your palate will be like good wine. Going to my beloved Mesharim straight away. Moving the lips of those who are sleeping. In other words, the people who are dead already. That you see, they'll be able to speak again. Verse says no. They said back to him, maybe stomach means the Mason, they'll stay dead, but their lips will move. Why? Rabbi Yochanan said the name of Shimon Yetzadek. Call me Shenemra Allah Dishmai Ba'il Mazah. Somebody who in this world Allah is said in his name, and he's dead already. So Seisav Davis Bekever, his lips will move in the kever. That's why it's such an Indian to write Svarim, because you have Talmidim, because even if a person is dead, lifted already, he still has a legacy. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, David Sifsi Yeshenim. So they did. He couldn't. The rayas he brought them. All of them they didn't accept. Until he told them this pasuk. The pasuk says, Hashem commanded to your fathers to give to them. This is the pasuk in the end of Vayim Shemaya. That's the end of the pasuk, right? It says lahem. It doesn't say Hashem said I'll give it to you. Lahem will give it to them, and they were dead already. That's how you know there's Tchias Mesim HaTorah, that they'll eventually be able to be revived and be able to have the land themselves. And some say it wasn't from that pasuk. He said from the following pasuk: and you who connect to Hashem, your God, Chaim Kol Chamayim. You'll all have Chaim these days, when it says Chaim Kolchem Hayoim, you'll all be alive today. That's extra, because it could have just said Chaim Kolchem, you'll be alive. What's to come and say today? It means today. Just like today is you're all alive, in the future you'll also all be alive. After the parentheses, just like today you're all alive, so too in the Olam Haba you'll all be alive. Shalu Ramiyim as Rabbi Shua ben Chananya. The Ramiyim, the Romans, asked Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, how do you know that Hashem is revives the dead? And he also knows what will happen. Hashem knows the future. How do you know? Okay. You know because your parents raised you that way and you went to yeshiva and so on. The Romans didn't have that benefit, right? So they wanted to know. Amalahu, he said to them, Tervayim and Mikrazah, they're both from the following pasuk. Shneimar, the pasuk says, V'yem Hashem al Moshe, Hashem said to Moshe, this pasuk we brought down before, you are going to
lie.
What? You're going to lie with you're going to die. You're going to lie with your fathers. Become ha'amazevazana, and the people will get up, and then vizana, they're going to do averis. So A, you see that Moshe Rabbeinu wants Tchias Mesim, and B, you see that Hashem knows the future. So the Gemara says, they said back to V'dilma become ha'amazevazana. Maybe it's all the same thing. Not that the people will get up and do the averis. Amralahu, he told them, fine, at least take a raya from here, that Hashem will know what's in the future. Fine, you're saying if you don't have a raya from here for Tchias Mesim, fine, but at least you get half of what you wanted, which is a raya that Hashem knows the future. We also learned this Abraisa Rabbi Yechon said name Rabbi Shimon Yechai. How do you know that Hashem is Mechayim Mesim and knows what will happen in the future? From this very passage. Tanya will learn the Raisa. Amar Eliezer Bar Yossi. Eliezer Bar Yossi says, "The davar zeh in the following things, ziyafti sifrei minim. I made false the svarim of the minim. In other words, I was able to show them, I demonstrate that they were wrong. Yeah. Show you Oimrim because they would say, and some say that this is the kusum of it, not minim. Show you Oimrim they would say, ain't chis hamesim in Torah. They said that there's no raya in chis hamesim from the Torah. Amarti and I told them, Ziyaftim Taraschem, you falsified, you made false your Torah, and you didn't get anything from it. You have no substance to it. You're saying there's no tchis hamesim in Torah. The pasuk says, this nefesh should be destroyed. It says Hikaris Tikaris in double lashon. Avoina bad has Saverin. Hikaris Tikaris by Lamazeh. Avoina ba le'emas. It says this neshama should be cut off. Lamazeh, it's going to die. So what does it mean Avoina ba? It has Savera. What Avera is left? Where does it have an Avera? It's dead. There's no Tchis HaMesim. Well, what's the Avoina ba? Le'emas. When is the Avoina ba going to come? Lav Le'elam ba must be talking about Le'elam ba. So you see that there is Tchis HaMesim. Papa said to Abaya, let him have said that you could learn it out both from the Karis to Karis. That the Karis to Karis is double lashon. The Karis Lel Mazeh, the Karis Lel Mabah. So he answered, if I answered, they would have told him, Dibra Torah Lashon Me'adam, that the Torah speaks like regular people talk, and a double Lashon is a normal way of speaking. I'm very, very happy. It means I'm very happy, right? Kitanai, like we learned in our Machlekes Tanam, the Brisa says, Hikaris Tikaris, Hikaris Bal Mazet, Hikaris Kol Mabad, Rabbi Akiva. When it says Hikaris Tikaris, Rabbi Akiva learns that this means that it's both in El Mazeh and El Mabah. We had this more before. Rabbi Shmuel said to it says about that same person who's doing the Berachas Hashem, that Hashem he's Megadif, he gets Karas. Now, if you're saying Tikaris is one world, Tikaris is another world, then what's the third one? V'nichusam. If you have 3 Alam. Ela v'nichusam el mazeh, hikaris l'al mabah. It says v'nichusam means el mazeh. Hikaris means l'al mabah. Hikaris tikaris. Why don't say both double lashon? Dibra Torah lashon me'adam, because the Torah speaks like normal people speak. Vein Rabbi Shmuel, vein Rabbi Akiva, avoyna ba ma'yavdi. Be'efrak the Gemara. What are they going to do with avoyna ba? What are they going to do with that pasuk? If the Tanya, they can use it for the following brisa. Yachlu filu asa tshuva. You would think that even if he did tshuva, he doesn't get el mabah. He's going to get karas. Only when he has an aver. I only said that if a person is karas from this world and the next world, if he doesn't do tshuva before he dies, but if he does tshuva, then that's going to be a reason why he still will get el mabah. Okay, let's stop over here.